is Aunt Francine.
Hi, kids. How are you? I'm so glad. Thank you for doing that. I'm so glad to join you in the tree house. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope that you're having fun at home. Would you like to join us? We want to welcome you to Jesus My Light. I'm Aunt Francine, and we are going to learn more about Jesus. Even when he was a child, he wanted to be very helpful. What kind of things do you like to do at home?
Well, I like to play with my Legos. I like to help my mom.
How about you, Khalil?
I like to help my mom too, sometimes, but...
What do you help? Do you have to help set this table or anything like that?
Sometimes it's help set the table, and I sometimes do the dishes with her.
Do the dishes. Now that is very helpful. You know, cleaning up after dishes is a big deal because I like it when I get some help cleaning up when I make a mess. But step by step, Jesus was learning to follow God's will. Do you like making steps to follow Jesus?
Yes.
That reminds me of a song, and Ben, I'm so glad you're here. Hey, can we sing this song, Step by Step? Let's try it. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. Oh God, you are my God, and I will ever praise you. I will seek you in the morning, and I will learn to walk in your way. And step by step you'll lead me, and I'll follow you all of my days. Oh, thank you for singing that song with me. I really like that song because each step we take, we can walk closer to Jesus, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
So are you ready for the next part of our program? The story time?
Yeah.
Yay! Let's go! So you know where Jesus moved to with his family? After they left Jerusalem, where did they go to?
To Egypt.
You're right, Egypt. And do you know how far Egypt is?
400 miles.
How did you know? You're right, it was 400 miles. Now that must have taken a long trip, but you know what? They were traveling probably by the sea. And why do you think they wanted to go to Egypt? What was happening? Somebody was the ruler there. Who was the ruler there?
King Herod.
King Herod, and what did he want to do?
Kill Jesus.
Kill Jesus.
He wanted to kill baby Jesus because he didn't want anybody else to be the king. That is so sad. They didn't want him to be king. And so Jesus was, what happened? We know the story. Joseph didn't even wait until morning to pack up all his things and leave for Egypt. And so they traveled 400 miles. Can you imagine walking 400 miles?
No.
That's pretty far. You're right. That is pretty hard. And so, you know what? They didn't even go back home to Nazareth. They had to go and flee. So they left everything behind, and there they started their new home. And maybe the wise men gave gifts that would help them to establish the new home. But you know, when Jesus was a small boy, God had chosen Mary and Joseph to be her parents. And I'm so glad for that, because you know what happened? Is that they realized that it had to be God that was leading Jesus, step by step. And Jesus was a small boy, and even when he was like 2 or 3 years old, you know what he was doing? He was trying to be helpful. How many of you have tried being helpful at 2 and 3? Yeah, that's a harder task, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're young.
You're pretty young, but he wanted to be very helpful. Do you like helping too? Sometimes? I hope so, because you know what? Even then, he wanted to help. And the big task back then was to make bread. How many of you have ever made bread? Do you like making bread? I like making bread. How about you at home? Every Sunday, I make bread for the week, and it takes a little bit of time. And I put everything in my ingredients, and I put it in my bread machine, and I hit the button, and it starts up. But back then, do you think they had a bread machine like I do? No. They had to do, the wheat, right? And you know what? I have a basket right there. Would you kindly, Rosalind, can you get me that basket right there? There's a little basket right there. And I have some wheat berries. And in there, thank you, there were some wheat berries. And so they would have time. Oh, she thinks it's a treat. But they would be wheat berries like these. And they would grab them, and then they would try to grind them up. And that's kind of a hard task to do. And they would grind them up. Aaliyah, would you like to try? Smash it. That's kind of hard, right? It takes some work. And but that's what they had to do. They had to grind it up, and then they would have the flour. Now, back then, it took at least 3 to 4 hours from the time that you already had your flour to make the bread. They had special ovens. And I can just imagine what it was like for Jesus. Wouldn't you like to see what it was like? And let's see if we can open up a picture book and have a look inside what Jesus might have done. Let's see. Would you like to see some pictures? I would like to see little Jesus right here. And see, he would follow examples. Do you see him helping his mom smash the wheat berries right here? And then they would smash it. And even before they could make the bread, they had to separate the shaft. And so they would have to throw it up in the air and let the wind blow it. That's interesting. I wonder what it have been like. Wouldn't you like to see that?
That's a good little helper. Thank you, Jesus. You see, after we gather the wheat, we have to separate it from the chaff. Now, let's try winnowing the wheat. Can you help me put some in here? Can you put some in here? Here. He's praying, and then he's ready to eat it. Oh, I would have loved to be there with little Jesus. He was so very helpful. And do you know what it's called when they throw the wheat up in the air? Winnowing. You're right. It is called winnowing. And then it was important to do that. And you know, it reminds me sometimes Jesus had some brothers. Were they always nice to him?
No.
How did you know? He had some older brothers. Can you sit down? But you know what? He had to make some careful choices. And I'm sure Mary had a little talk and said, you know what? It's okay that your brothers are playing. You can be here, and I'm so glad that you're helping me do different things with the chores and making bread, for example. How many times do your parents have to remind you to set the table?
Many.
Many times. So you know what? Sometimes it's important to be helpful without having to be asked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our parents want us to be helpful. And you know what? There is a commandment that has a promise. Do you know what commandment has a promise in it?
The fifth commandment.
Oh, which is what? Khalil?
Honor your father and your mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
You're right. So God has a promise that if we honor our parents and respect them, we will live a long time. And so by helping them and being very helpful, that is what we can do to grow in favor with God. But not only are you growing in favor with God, who are you growing with as well?
Your parents.
You're right. And so you know what? Here is some stories. I'd like to show you some pictures. So here is where Jesus had to travel from Jerusalem. See, they were from Bethlehem and then Jerusalem. And then they probably went here to Egypt. Now, Egypt was a beautiful place, and it had lots of rich places. It was known to be a very dry place, but it became a very rich place, and that's what people wanted to do. Bible times, how long did it take them to make bread? Was it A, 1 to 2 hours, B, 3 to 4 hours, or C, pretty much all day, like 6 to 8 hours?
B.
B, 3 to 4 hours, you're right. How about what type of grain was often used in the Bible times? Was it, let's see, barley and wheat? Or oats and rice? Or was it corn and rye?
A.
Barley and wheat, you're right. What is it called when we use the wind to separate the wheat from the chaff?
Wallowing.
Okay, hold on. Was it catching the wind? Chasing or winnowing? What was it?
Winnowing.
Winnowing. You already know it. I know you at home already knew the answer. So you know what? Let's go get our craft. Are you ready to make a craft?
Yes.
Yes, go get it. Let's go get it, Kyle Deal. So no matter what your age or how young or old you are, we can always make a habit of being helpful, like these little helpful lilies. Jesus wanted to be helpful. Do you like to be helpful at home? I hope so. So remember, when your mom asks you to do something, I hope she doesn't have to ask you 2 or 3 times or even remind you to set the table. So let's get out some crafts. And here's a straw for you and Rosalind and Aaliyah. Here's a couple more and Ricardo. All right, so you know what you get to do on this one is you get to trace your hand. So who wants purple? Who wants pink? Oh, girls like pink. Let's get some colors out and let's have fun. Yes. What color do you see? Do you see it? So you can go ahead and start tracing your hand. Yep. And you want green? Okay. Oops, let's see if we have green. Okay. No matter how negative people are, what can we always remember? We can always shine for Jesus and be very helpful, can't we? At every situation, we can be helpful at home. Where else can we be helpful? Do any of you go to school?
Yes.
Yeah, we can be helpful at school. Will you live for Jesus today? I hope you will want to live for Jesus. And we hope you can visit us at 3abnkids.tv.